Okay, guys, so we are starting The Outsiders, and you had a chance to read a little bit of Chapter 1 for the pretest the other day, and kind of give you kind of an idea of how the novel begins. So what we're going to be doing for the next couple of classes is we're going to be doing some writing and some thinking about something called reflective inquiry, and that's something that we're going to be talking about with the novel. So if you look at lessons 1 and 2, and the reason it's 2 lessons long is because there's a writing activity, and this writing activity is a 2-class writing activity. So if you were here in person, we would be spending 2 whole classes on this. The first thing I need you to do is to watch the video that you are currently watching. So that's kind of the instruction up here. So watch the video before doing the assignment. I'm going to kind of explain the instructions and introduce the ideas that I would introduce if you were in the classroom too. So I'm going to open up this PDF, and you guys will have this PDF in front of you as well for you to be able to look at it as well. So 7th grade, every time I introduced a novel, we talked about the themes and essential questions and the disposition. And so the disposition for The Outsiders is something here called reflective inquiry. Okay, so reflective inquiry, and that's what all of the novels that we're going to be looking at this year will be. That's what the disposition will be. So to be able to reflect and ask questions is what we're going to be doing. So we want you to be able to inquire critically with deep reflection, which basically means we want you to become a critic. We want you to be able to form and express judgments based on what you're reading. So, and some of these lessons will take more than one class. And if you're working from home, it's going to be a little more difficult unless you're really independent and you have yourself set up on a schedule. So this lesson should take you 2 days, so about 2 hours. So those of you that are working from home, kind of plan for that. We're going to be reading the novel in a couple of days, but what we're going to be talking about right now is the theme. So the theme of the novel here is familiarity alters perspective. So to become familiar with something, how does that change the way you look at something? So think about what that means. So for example, do you know what the phrase, "it is an acquired taste" means? You might have heard that at some point where, you don't like something at first, but then when you get to know it a little bit better, you start to like it more. So familiarity, to become familiar, changes the way you look at something. And that kind of works with people too. So if you meet somebody for the first time and you're unfamiliar with them, you have these preconceived notions about them. And that's what we're going to be talking about. It's what we call prejudice. So you're passing judgment on somebody before you get to really know them. So, but once you get familiar with somebody, your view often changes. You might become friends with them, or, you just might see them as a colleague in school sort of thing, or just as a fellow student. Sometimes it works the opposite way too. You might meet somebody for the first time and think you have a lot in common, and once you get to know that person, then you change your mind and discover that maybe you don't have as much in common as what you originally thought. So that's what the theme is. And the essential questions that you need to know, think about how is it that you learn, because everybody learns in a different way. Some people learn better by seeing things. Some people learn better by listening to things or reading about things. And a lot of people learn how to do things by watching somebody else do them. All right, so think about how it is that you learn best. So if you were given a bunch of information, how do you discover new knowledge? How do you pursue a problem to a solution? If I gave everybody the same problem to solve, it could be anything. There could be 20 different solutions to the problem. So, if I gave you a stick and said, hey, use this stick for survival, somebody might make a fishing pole out of it. Somebody might make a spear out of it. Somebody might use it to build a shelter. So there's different solutions to problems. How do you apply the learning that you do? So, think about how it is that you learn and what would be the first thing you would try? So once you develop, your own way of solving problems, you probably will use that more. How do I see all situations in a bigger context? So small situations, how do they work to the big picture? And we're going to be talking a lot about that throughout the novel. And then finally, how do I respond to new situations or individuals that are different from me? Okay, so we obviously have a very new situation here because a lot of you guys are working remotely. You're working from home. So we don't have the advantage of sitting in front of each other and explaining things and being able to ask questions like you would if you were in the classroom. So that's a new situation. Think about people that you meet for the first time, individuals that are different from you. How do you respond to that? Some people respond positively and some people don't respond positively. So let's think about that, and we're going to move on to what I actually want you guys to do. So this is a writing lesson. So I'm going to read the directions, and I'm going to give you your possibilities of how you're going to do this, and then kind of give you what you need to do. So it's a writing about prejudice. So getting along with others is important in life, but sometimes we don't like someone or they do not like us because we are different in some way. This is sometimes called prejudice, and prejudice means you're forming an opinion without looking at the facts carefully. Like saying something like, he has a tattoo, so he must be a crook, or she got arrested, so she must be guilty, or she doesn't wear cool clothes, so she must be a loser. So prejudice is often directed at different races, black and white, different social classes, rich and poor, and or different religions like Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Muslim, etc. So you have a choice of 4 things that you can write about. So your theme is prejudice, and I only want you to choose one of these. Okay, you're not going to have to do all 4 of them. So the first choice, write about a time when you or someone you know faced prejudice. Where somebody passed judgment on you without even knowing you, and tell me about that situation and how that turned out. Or discuss what a person can learn from dealing with prejudice. So, maybe you were involved in a situation where you passed judgment on somebody and treated them a certain way, and then you learned later on that, that you actually get along with that person, sort of thing. So, think about what you learned. Or if you don't want to do that one, persuade the readers that prejudice is wrong. Passing judgment on people before you know the facts is wrong, and I want specific examples of how that would work. Or if those 3 don't suit your interest, then you think of a way to write about prejudice in your own way. And the way that I want you to do that is you can use examples from real life, from what you've read or watched, or from your imagination. And your writing is going to be read by me and some other interested adults. So we're looking for top-notch writing. I'm looking for careful paragraph structure. I'm looking for you to use your good vocabulary. I'm looking for capitals and indents and all of those things that go along with paragraph writing. You can use paper to do like your rough draft, but the one that I'm going to be grading is going to be your Google Docs draft. So you can take notes, you can free write, you can outline however you want to do sort of a rough draft. But remember, I won't be looking at your rough draft, but if you want to create like a Google Doc that has your information on there for a rough draft, you can. So give careful thought to how you're going to revise it. So you might have to rethink your ideas. So if you turn it into me, I might send it back to you with some suggestions on it. And in order for me to regrade it, let's say you want to raise your grade, then you would have to take those suggestions into account. Okay, make sure you use a dictionary, thesaurus, spelling book, grammar book. You use the internet. I mean, that's what it's there for. Editing questions. So these are some questions that I would ask you. Is your central idea clear? Is the point of your writing clear? Do I know exactly what you're writing about based on what you're writing? Is your central idea or point supported by important, relevant details, examples, or anecdotes? An anecdote is just a story about how something happens. Does your writing begin with an interesting and engaging lead? Does it continue with a middle that supports and develops the point? And do you conclude it with an ending that summarizes the point? This is where I'm looking for your paragraph structure. So a minimum of 3 paragraphs. So 3 paragraphs would take care of the beginning, which would introduce your topic. The middle paragraph is where you would come up with all of your ideas to support what you said in your first paragraph. And then your third paragraph would be the conclusion that summarizes your point once again. You're going to be doing 5-paragraph essays by the end of the year, a lot. So we're going to start out with an easy 3-paragraph one. Is the writing interesting with engaging words and different sentence lengths and types? You are 8th graders now, guys, and my expectations for 8th grade writing are very high. And I will send something back to you 20 times if I need to, if I know that you can do a better job. And then finally, what do I as a listener think is good about the writing? Do I have questions or suggestions for the writer? So that's kind of the things that you'd be thinking about. There's your revision for checklist, your checklist for editing, your checklist for revision. I want you to go over these things. So this document is here for you to use. When you've decided which one of these 4 topics you want to do, you need to write that topic or type that topic into your document. So if you go back to the opening page here, I've already created a Google Doc for you. All right, and it's very basic. You're going to type your name in the box next to name, of course. Now, I've already set it up so that it is 12-point font. You don't want to make the font size smaller because then you'll have more writing to do. And you don't want to make the font size bigger because if you do, I'm going to make it 12-point font, okay, and see how much you have written down here. You need to have this page full. You need to have at least 3 paragraphs. You're probably going to go 2 pages, and it is skipping lines, and it's already set up to do that, okay, so it's double-spaced. Make sure you hit the tab key if you want to indent, all right? Don't use your space bar, use the tab key. So this is going to take you probably a couple of hours as you think through this. I want you to read all the materials that I just read to you and review them, and then get started on a rough draft. And like I said, this will probably, I can't remember what the due date is on it. I haven't set up the due date yet on it, but when you guys watch this, there'll be a due date on this. This is probably going to be worth at least 50 points. So I expect a good job. And if you have any questions, remember, you contact me on Wednesdays. I'll always have my Zoom open Wednesday. If you guys need to set up a time where you want to meet with me, you can email me or you can just log into Zoom on Wednesdays and I can help you out. All right, so that is basically how I would introduce this to the class as well. So like I said, if you have any questions, you're going to have to let me know. Good luck.